If you are sick and tired of being on a treadmill, you would do well to really understand what I'm saying here. Because a lot of us are smart enough to sit here and make ourselves so busy that we're on a treadmill. So I made a video a while back called What's Wrong with Fire, and in that video I discussed a segment of passive income that we refer to as micro-enterprise, and a lot of people asked about that, and I wanted to follow up on the idea of micro-enterprise as the solution to what is missing in a lot of conversations on this subject. Because a lot of times what we need is we need to put things in a certain perspective in order to sort of walk before we run and kind of work our way into something that might seem formidable. I mean, going from, where you're at to where you want to be might seem like a huge leap, but when you break it down into small bite-sized pieces, like what we're going to do in this video, then it becomes easier to just, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. With that idea in mind, the first step is defining what a micro-enterprise is to begin with. And what, everybody knows what passive income is. It's income that comes in and you don't have to do anything. But that's the misconception that a lot of people have and don't realize that a lot of the passive income is not actually 100% passive. It's just semi-passive, which is perfectly fine, and that's okay. Let's get that out of the way. The second thing, micro-enterprise, this is not a small business. Small business, let's say what it's not. Small business, it used to be revenues of $1 million was still a small business, but nowadays that could be $2 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. It could even be, I don't know, I think I've seen somebody say that it's up to $5 million is a small business. So that's not what we're talking about, okay? Because that's obviously, that's going to take us somewhere we don't want to be, because the video's about passive/semi-passive income and working our way into that. The micro-enterprise is an enterprise that has these qualifications. It earns enough to cover your expenses or a little bit more. It can earn a micro-enterprise, you can have more than one micro-enterprise, and each one can earn $500 a month, and you might have 4 of them. Or or one earns $1,000, the other one earns $1,500. You could earn $1,000 a month, you could earn $2,000, $4,000, $6,000. The monthly 4-figure range is a micro-enterprise. And the more micro-enterprises you have, the better for diversification. You've heard of diversification principles. Well, that applies to micro-enterprises because it's inherent within the idea that if something is that small, and there's a reason why it's that small, you want to intentionally keep it. That's why we discuss micro-enterprise, because it's intentional. And the reason it's intentional to keep it at this level is because it fulfills the needs of the life we want. And so we don't want to be saying, oh, well, I run a small business, but it's grossing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and, it's a job. You're making good money, but it's a job. We don't want that. This is a way to stay out of that delayed lifestyle plan. And running a small business isn't necessarily staying out of the delayed lifestyle plan. A lot of business people are delaying their lifestyle. But remember, in order for it to stay a micro-enterprise, it cannot grow to such a level unless you want it to. But remember, if you let it grow to that level where it now becomes a job, you have just delayed your lifestyle. So that's the thing. We can't sit here and morph into something we don't want. And so we want to keep it at the micro level intentionally so that the micro enterprise won't grow. This might sound counterintuitive, like, what are you talking about? Are you saying I shouldn't grow my business? If you want to live in the here and now and enjoy your life now, if you are sick and tired of being on a treadmill, you would do well to really understand what I'm saying here. Because a lot of us are smart enough to sit here and make ourselves so busy that we're on a treadmill. So let's just stick with the micro enterprise. So the micro enterprise is 4 figures monthly income, any range, the limits are it would only occupy up to 4 hours a day of our time. The less, the better. Now, the less time it occupies, the more passive income it is, isn't it? So we've made the qualifications. We know what micro enterprise is and what it isn't. And therefore, it's going to give you the lifestyle.
And it normally doesn't have employees.
And by default, it's not going to have local employees. Mostly it would be like a husband and wife team. So that's what a micro enterprise is and isn't. And that's the reason why you would want to have the micro enterprise. So what exactly, how do I get into a micro enterprise? A micro enterprise means all of the things we just said, so it doesn't have to be anything particularly unusual. For example, real estate can be a micro enterprise. Think about it. You save enough to put a down payment on a duplex, and you fix it up, you live in one half, and you rent out the other half, and you're net cash flowing $500 a month or $1,000 a month. Well, that's a micro enterprise. You only spend, 1 or 2 hours a week making sure that everything works and the rent's collected and the lawn is mowed, and that's it. That's a micro enterprise. Now, with real estate, it's what I call modular. Some micro enterprises are modular. That means that, like a modular kitchen cupboards, where you can add more cupboards, or like Legos where you can add, you can stack more. And like with real estate, you don't have to stop at one duplex. You can add as many units little by little, as long as it stays at the level that we just discussed, where it's not taking more than 4 hours of your day. It doesn't become a job. And so real estate is a perfect example of a micro enterprise, but it wouldn't have to be real estate. It could be any service.
You've got things like photography, catering. You've got personal care you can do. I've always thought about doing mobile haircuts, something you can probably do just about anywhere in the world. Freelance hair care and styling. You've got mobile chef. Nowadays you've got people that make gluten-free food or gluten-free cooking. You've got dog training, career coaching, as far as consulting businesses that you can do. You can provide services to businesses too. It doesn't have to be to consumers. Things like bookkeeping. You can provide videography and such to businesses. And then there are also other home services where you can be in the home, but you can be out of the home too. Things like various carpentry ideas, building this, that, and the other. Seems like people are always needing this built or that built. And then you've got touristy things, that you can do in touristy areas, like bike tours, walking tours, managing vacation rentals for other people, Airbnb, and then there's also the online version of services where you can do freelance software development. If you have that skill, you can learn these skills. You can just learn the amount of skills that you want if you're interested in doing something new. Freelance web development, web design, graphic design, freelance video editing. These are all services that can be done online.
And you can look through that list of services and pick out 3 things you think you might have an interest in, and then read, study, learn, and practice and learn a new skill. But it goes beyond that, because the micro enterprise is an enterprise. It's differentiated from selling your time. Now, you can sell a service without selling your time. Even though you're still occupying your time, you put a limit on your time. Does that make sense? So that means instead of saying, well, I'm going to work for you 4 hours for this much per hour, you say, well, I'm going to produce the result you're looking for, and it's going to cost you a flat fee. So that's called a productized service, and I've done that. And you can take this list of services you can provide online, or you can make a list of services you can provide in your own neighborhood. It just depends on what you want to do and what you enjoy doing. When you do an online service, then that gives you more flexibility, which is what we're looking for with micro enterprise, the best micro enterprises. But you can have any micro enterprise, because especially for something that's portable, if you do even a localized service, you can pick a service that you could do in any city. Then you can stay flexible and pick up. You can move somewhere else, lower cost of living or whatever you want, and then you can pick it up there. Or you can do it online, so you can move abroad, move to Mexico, move to whatever you want, or just work from home while you raise your kids. But you would productize it. You would say, well, I can do the service, and it's $300. So for $300, I'll achieve the end result that you're looking for. So that's how you would run it, and then you would run it up to a level where all of the qualifications, all the limitations, or rather I would say all of the boundaries that we just put on what micro enterprise is. And again, the reason for that is to be able to live the life you were meant to live without delaying your life into the future. A lot of people already have skills and hobbies that they can use as a micro enterprise. They can expand them into a micro enterprise that pays you, instead of just leaving it at the hobby level. You could improve it into the micro enterprise level. And again, the foundational premise of the micro enterprise idea, which we've used all of our lives, because I started out in my 20s delaying my life, wanting to save up a chunk of money and put it earning interest and all that, and I became very dissatisfied after just a couple of years, and so we figured out, well, the business I had at the time lent itself be able to be a micro enterprise. But then the thought occurred to me, if anything ever happened to this business, I really would like to be able to expand and keep the concept. But when you look at the Nearings, when I saw that they were able to take homesteading and turn it into a micro enterprise where they would limit themselves to 4 hours a day of work, I thought to myself, you know what? You don't necessarily have to do any specific thing. If they were able to do it with just their homesteading and their small-scale farming, then you pretty much could do it with anything. So this day and age, you could take that list of online services you can provide, and you could do it that way. And so what this does is it gives you the added flexibility that all of a sudden, it opens up all these options where you realize, I really don't need to make so much money because I'm trying to stack money in order to live off money. What I need is good health. What I need is good health, good family relationships where people work together to achieve the end result, and you just learn all the things you need to know. You couple that with good thrift and smart, frugal ideas, and you always save money and invest money. So you can be doing all of the things that people talk about, but yet you can be doing them while living your present life in the here and now at the same time. So you don't have to forego any of the good ideas that are commonly talked about. You're just turning your life around and putting more balance and readjusting your priorities in your life so that you can be a well-adjusted and happy person and live happily ever after.